Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. So, today is another episode of Raise Your Frequency. And as you know, what I mean by frequency is what you emit. So, we are always absorbing and emitting waves. And those waves are things that other people will intercept because we're absorbing waves from other people and we're able to interpret that information, and we're also emitting it. And the higher your frequency and the better you feel and all of that, the healthier you'll be. And I am really excited today because I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is creative expression. And why is that so important to your well-being and your health? So, what I mean by creative expression is any way that you are expressing your true self in some way. It could be how you sing, it could be how you write something, it could be poetry, it could be painting, it could be, writing and composing music, it could be writing a book. It doesn't matter whether it's fiction or nonfiction. It is your way of expressing yourself. And a lot of us are actually afraid. I don't know how many people are really afraid to sing in their voice, even if it's out of tune. And it really, really doesn't matter how you express yourself. It just matters that you express you. And the more that we're able to express our true selves in the way that we love to do, for example, speaking is another way of expressing your true self, like speaking on stage or like me speaking here. This is the real me. When you meet me in person, this is who you'll get. It is my authentic self. And the more that you're authentic and the more that you're able to express who you are, the freer you feel. And one of my favorite things that I love to do is paint. And I haven't done it in a while because I have been every time I set up something, I go, oh, I could be doing this or I could be doing that, instead of just getting into the process. So here's what happens when you get into a creative process. For example, if I were to paint, I can paint all day long. And I didn't even know that I could draw or paint until I was 50 years old. Can you imagine that? 50 years old. And when I did, I was encouraged by someone that I was seeing as a counselor because I was trying to blend two families together. It was my two children, his two children. They were all about the same age, in their mid to late teens. And we each had a very different philosophy on how to raise children. And in the midst of this, going and talking to this woman, she kept telling me that I should join her painting class. And her painting class was going to be in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. And that, it cost so and so much, and that I really ought to come. And it was in October. And I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? But I did it because it just sounded like a really fun idea. And it's something that I had never, ever, ever tried before. And every time you try something new, it's really exciting. Instead of feeling like, ooh, I can't do that, what if I'm not any good? Because not all of my paintings came out very good. I have thrown away my flops, but I have a lot of flops, believe me. But I also have a lot of wins. And when we first started painting, I was told, here, use these things. And what they are is a set of crayons that if you wet them, they're made out of the thing that holds the pigment together is slightly water soluble, not entirely. So we have these crayons, and I noticed that I love doing it with crayons. It was really, really simple. And one day, this particular teacher, art teacher, she doesn't show you how to paint. She just shows you the materials that work really well, and how to put it on an easel. And the first time I used an easel, I realized that painting on a flat surface was really difficult. And so she says, well, just grab something small and try painting a master. So what I did was I created this. And you might recognize it. It's a Vermeer, a copy of a Vermeer, The Girl with a Pearl Earring. And yes, I did it with these kind of crayons and a little bit of water. And I was so surprised at how good it came out. I thought, I didn't know I could do that. So it's kind of fun. It's like opening up a toy box and finding a new toy you can play with. And that was really exciting. But the process that I was doing is that I forgot all the future and I forgot all the past. It's just like a meditation. And getting into that kind of creative flow gets you into that really beautiful place of just being in the moment. And all I was doing was looking at my inspiration piece and just trying to get the nuances. And later, we tried other things. Like there's this medium called gouache, which is like an opaque material. And I had taken a photograph of a rose, and then I created this out of it. And I did not know I could do that. So you can see how big it is. And then she introduced me to oils, and I then created this out of oil. So it's just iris buds. And I took a photograph and then just created that painting. And while I was doing these, I was in the moment. It was better than meditation. And I didn't even think about what it would look like when it was done. I just had this vision. So actually, it's an exercise in how you can have a vision ahead of time and decide what materials you're going to use, whether it is creating a business or creating a relationship or creating your home, like drawing how you want your home to look. In that period, you're simply in the mode of creation. And while you're in that creation mode, and for me, when I was creating each of these paintings, I didn't think about how they would look like when I was done. I simply was in the moment and saying, oh, that needs a little more shading here, and this needs a little more brightness here. And a lot of those places that look white on this, for example, any place that looks white, is actually painted white here. So all those places that, and I learned some principles from this particular teacher, that you should always have black and white in the picture for the most contrast. And so I was never afraid. I just simply did it. And when she saw me painting this little picture of the girl with a pearl earring, see if I can get it in here. When she saw me with those big fat crayons on here, so you can imagine, she saw me on those big fat crayons, and I was just simply in the moment drawing it. And she goes, wow, that takes a lot of confidence to use this big fat crayons on this little tiny picture. And I thought, confidence? What confidence? I'm just creating. And it didn't matter how it came out. And I was really excited that it came out so good. And the reason why she had us work on cards that small was that she had gone to an art store that had a bunch of leftover pieces of frames, and she created all of these 5x7 and 6x8 frames and gifted them to us. And so they were just made from scraps. And so that even got more fun because now I have it propped up and hanging. And I also always encouraged my children to do art. They both are very artistic. One has done a lot of clay work, throwing big giant pots, really beautiful, making his own glazes. He also can draw. He likes drawing charcoal really well. And my daughter does all kinds of 3D stuff and 2D stuff and film and photography and singing and composing. And that basically has saved her life because it brings you in the moment and you don't think of anything else. So it's way better than meditation. And at the end, you have something. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to be good at it. I didn't know I was any good at painting, and like I said, until I was 50. And unfortunately, the last piece I created was right when I turned 60. And I keep saying, yeah, I really need to break those paints out again because of the satisfaction I get, no matter how ugly it is. But the satisfaction I get from creating something. So the great thing about doing and being in that creative mode is that you're expressing who you are. You're expressing yourself, and everything is stripped away as long as you don't worry about what you're going to get at the other end, because you never know. Sometimes it can be great, sometimes not so great. And one thing that I learned in while I was doing art is that there's no practices. So every time you do it, you use a good canvas, and every time you do it, you use like you save whatever you're writing on a computer, or you write it in a book in ink. You're always saving it. Like I have sets of journals that are about this much from the time that I was doing a lot of writing. And during that time, that writing really healed a lot. So all I can do is encourage you to, no matter how you express yourself, whether it's cooking or decorating or speaking or painting, any kind of way, or even going and deciding how you're going to dress yourself. Like when my daughter, who's very artistic, would dress herself when she was younger, she would put stripes and stars and polka dots and plaid and all kinds of colors together. And she even got a big rainbow tattoo on her shoulder. And people used to ask me when she was younger, are you going to let her go out of the house like that? And I go, well, let's see. She's not dressed like a slut. Her breasts are all contained. And she goes out like an artist. She's an A student and she's a well-behaved child. So I'm going to pick my battles, and that's not a battle I'm going to pick. So yeah, she's going to go out of the house like that. So she was always her own canvas. So you can also be your own canvas. Like how you put your makeup on and how you put your jewelry on and how you put yourself together. It doesn't matter. As long as you express you and not worry about what those other people are thinking. And the more that you open up to yourself and the more that you do it, you gain a lot more confidence and you find that you're worth a lot more to yourself. And like I said, for me, it was like opening a treasure chest and finding a new toy to play with. And that was really fun. So now whatever it is I do, whether it's to go out and learn ballet or go out and learn karate, which I did. I never took it, and I learned some of that as an adult, or whatever it is that I choose to learn, that I never am afraid to go and try it for fear of looking silly. So this is number 3 of the 8 factors that have been shown over the last 70 to 80 years from top medical universities, top universities. Research has shown are really important for your health, your wealth, and your relationships. Especially in this case, your creative expression is your relationship to yourself. Learning how to express who you are, not what other people want you to be. And there is now a link down there that on this page that shows you, it's a really long blog post. It could be even a whole book. And it goes through the 8 factors and questions you can ask yourself for each of the factors. And find out, are you shortchanging yourself? Is there somewhere you really need to work on? And for those of you that are really interested And I have a free 5-day challenge. It's called a Successful Healers Challenge, but really it is learning the negotiation skills and the interrelationship skills on an energetic level, learning what it is you need to do to help you get what you want the most. So there is now a link also on this page for you to join it. It is not too late. I have stored all of the Facebook videos that I created onto a little membership site that helps you go through that. And that's a gift to you to use however you like. And I thank you for your attention today. So if any of you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Even if you're not on this video live, put in the question. I will come back and answer. And next week on Raise Your Frequency on Mondays, every Monday at noontime Pacific, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Eastern, and let's see, noon, it'll be either 8 or 9 o'clock sometime at night in Europe. And I think it's really early, like 6 or 7 in the morning in Australia for people that would be listening. So the following morning. So I thank you for coming on. Hi, Evelyn. Hi, Liza. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy that you're here. And it's just awesome to have you listening, all you wonderful people listening on the show. This is something that I love to do. I love to help people, and I love to help them raise their frequencies. So, oh, thank you, Jackie. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm so happy you're here. So, anyway, if you have any questions, put them in right now. I'll wait a few seconds. Otherwise, I'll be answering them in the either next week, on next Monday, or what do you do with your journals when you filled them up? I save them. And often I will go open and I'll look in and see where I was at that time. And it really gives me a clue to how far I've come. And you can actually get a 5-year journal. So let's say January 1st, you'll have this year's, next year's, the following year, the following year, and the following year. And you can actually go through and write a little brief something in those journals and see where you were the year before. And I know when I look back, I usually write a post on my birthday and on New Year's. And on other special dates, I'll write a post and then I'll go back and I'll read them and see where I was at that time. And I know that in the last 5 years, for example, I've come a long way. So it's a really good way of seeing where you're at and where you've been. And it also gives you a good idea where you're going, right? Okay, do you burn them or not? No, I don't burn journals. I burn, if I have a burning issue, I'll write a letter to either that burning issue. So whatever the issue is, let's say I'm really angry about something. So I'll write why I'm angry and then I'll release it. So that's what the burning does, is it you releasing it from you. And or if you're mad at a person, you can write a really angry letter and tell them all the reasons why you're angry and all the reasons why you don't want those boundaries crossed anymore, and then release it. Burn it and release it. You don't need to give it to them because they have received the message. I have done that a number of times. Like I wanted certain things to shift around me, relationships to shift. I would write a letter of why I wanted it to shift and how I wanted it to change and how it was hurting me. I burned it, released it into the universe, and actually those things actually happened to come true. So I'm a firm believer in releasing it to the universe and letting the universe take care of you once you've made your wishes known. It's just like praying. You don't get what you need until you ask for it, but it's all there for the asking. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you so much for listening.